journey of the 5th edition. Join our various gaming groups as we play the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons. And maybe just hang out and chat about gaming in general. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kelly, aka Trixie from Ragnarok and Roll, assigned to Ragnarok Story, and Tilda Wimblewick from D&D Journey of the 5th Edition. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening to our varied adventures, as well as for rating us on iTunes and RPGpodcast.com. If you haven't rated us yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you could. And if you're looking for more ways to support our efforts, we are now on Patreon, a great site where you can help us continue making more podcasts, as well as some special surprises for our patrons. If you can, please look us up at www.patreon.com/cppn. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for listening. Welcome back to Creative Play and Podcast. I am Kelly, and along with me is
Jim. Hey, that's kind of nice not having to do the intro. I should have you do that more often.
New.
Yes.
And today we're gonna silence you.
Yes,
Let me spit this out. Today we're just gonna do a little talk on some of my favorite accessories for D&D. Now, I know in the age of COVID, you don't usually, a lot of times we're gaming online, but when you're gaming in person, a lot of gamers like to have their accessories. And I'm not talking dice. Dice are not necessarily so much an accessory, but a necessity. However, you can have lots of dice, and then it almost becomes an accessory. Then you have to have the pretty colors. I'm partial to the glitters, but then that's me. But other things. So, Jim, what is one of your favorite accessories for gaming?
So as I pull out the notepad here, oh my master, is this going to be a top 10 that we're talking about here, or what order are we going to take this in?
Sort of an informal back and forth. I'm totally messing with you. You don't have to have a numbered, itemized list. So, what's one of your favorite accessories for D&D gaming?
Oh, so I'll have to start up my notepad list here just to make sure I'm not being redundant and repeating myself. But I will go with, as a GM, the number one thing you should have is a 3-ring binder. That way you can put your writer's Bible, or GM's Bible, as you probably are as a storyteller, and have, even if you're a player, 3-ring binder is the shiznat, because you can have your character sheets and those cool little protective sleeves in the 3-ring binder, so you can draw on the outside of it with wet erase markers or dry erase markers to keep track of things. I am a huge fan of the 3-ring binder.
I will have to take, I don't like the 3-ring binders so much, but I do like, I tend to favor, it's a clipboard that is also a case. So you can slip your, papers inside, and you can even, depending on how many papers you have in there or stuff, you can even put a complete set of dice in there. I've even did it with a dice tray, but we'll get into those. But I like that because it's kind of a self-contained, and I color coordinate mine. Different games have different clipboards. So, and what is nice is if you have the space, you can open it, and it's a little tray on both sides. Mm-hmm. And you can have your characters in the plastic sleeves. Plastic sleeves are great. Mm-hmm. And you can do the dry erase on them. And you can do that. If you don't have the space, you've got the clipboard side. all of it contained, and you can have all of them clipped to the one section of it. They're the one width.
And as a GM, if you do the clipboard case, it is handy. You can have all of your NPCs on the outside, but with a cover sheet. And then you just lift it up ominously in front of your players, and you read off the information you need.
I kind of like that better than the 3-ring binder. But both are perfectly valid, and whichever they like. I also happen to like they actually make sleeves or little folders that you can get out of the plastic, but with like pretty D&D paintings on them and stuff of the different book covers and stuff. And inside you have sleeves or like that you can put on the side, and then they have the sheets that you can put your papers into there. Plus, they have a section for cards.
Oh, you mean, so you're talking about the official D&D character portfolios.
Yeah. Portfolios, yes, thank you, that's the word.
I'm not sure if it's folio or portfolio, one of the others.
I think it's portfolio, but I'm not sure. But I do really like those. Now, I do have a tendency to have a lot of like background information. I'll have sheets with my, extra information and stuff. So sometimes that's always not as nice because it's so smooth it will just slide out and it can't seal shut like the clipboard. But I still like this. So some of my characters have those.
And yeah, the nice thing with the D&D character folios is it's got the last 2 pages have card slots in the sleeves, so you can put if you have your character spells in the sleeve.
Spell cards.
Sort of like a hybrid of 4th edition when they did everything on cards.
And I like that. I've even made my own cards for different things, like the Bard's bardic inspiration. That way I just have it right there so I can look at it and stuff.
And I'll totally go back to the 3-ring binder idea and steal one from you. In the 3-ring binders, especially during, back to school days, you can get those pencil pin holders like you do that has a little zipper in the 3-ring binder, so you can shove your dice set in there too, so you have that nice and safe.
Yeah, I do. I have one for pens and pencils and those types of things, and then one for dice. So yeah, I do have those.
Because it is nice when you have your grab-and-go gaming stuff. So that way you can color coordinate, which binder or clipboard you need for game night, especially when there's multiple games, you got it all set up of this color is for this character, and you can just grab and go.
And I like doing that with the clipboards too.
Because there's nothing worse than forgetting your character sheet on game day.
Oh,
don't be that guy.
Don't be like, no. Though I did find it's not an accessory, but the spell cards would be an accessory, and I love the spell cards. But if you don't have a folder that you can put them in, sort of like the Pokemon cards, those types of things where you can use same type of thing, but for spell cards. One thing that I found is an app. They do have a 5e spell list one, which is great because you can customize it for each of your specific different characters. So that's nice, but it's also a general search. So say you're already bringing a lot of stuff to the game. You don't want to necessarily bring a stack of cards, or you don't have the little card sleeves where they're already in there for that specific character. I can use the app to do searches. I
know you have a favorite app. Which app is that?
Oh, well, the one that I am referring to, hold on, I think it's just 5e spell, but let me go specifically to it. It is D&D Spells 5e.
Because I'm a fan of that app in a pinch. Of course, normally I just Google the spell and it comes right up.
Yeah. But if you're a gaming person, that might not always be an option. But I like that. That's a nice one.
And they do have the option to make a generic one for spells that aren't in there yet, right?
You can also add your own in there.
Which that is super handy.
hmm Yeah, so I do love the spell cards as an accessory. But yeah, sometimes they can get cumbersome. But it's sometimes it's nice to have that. Um, and the app will do it too, where you can like mark off that you've used it and stuff, or on your character sheet, you can like mark off that you've used it. But like what I always like to do is, either you put a big X through the card, like, nope, I've already burned all your, if it was just the one, when you're starting out low, it's kind of hard to,
Mm-hmm.
but you can put a check, you can dry erase on it, you don't have to, or what I will sometimes do is I just flip the card over.
Which that's one of the best ways of doing it, especially if you have
Yeah.
sleeves.
Exactly. So, but you can just use your dry erase to mark through it. Say if it's like you can't cast it again until you have a short rest or a long rest, you can just put an X through it. Because sometimes the sleeves can be really tight and you don't necessarily want to futz with it.
Yeah. So you kind of hinted at it, but I will say my next pick will be the dry erase board, or something that you can use as a dry erase board, and dry erase markers. Because even though I'm not getting to the next thing, which you totally know I use wet erase markers on, but having a little dry erase board is great for initiative tracking. It's great for jotting down quick notes. You can totally use that for damage to your monsters. If you're a player, you can totally use that for quick references, because, again, if you have a clear sheet protector on your character sheet, you can totally mark off spells on your spell page just by checking through them. Or you can keep a running tally of what your hit points are. Just remember, watch the dreaded arm roll that wipes everything you've written down clear. We've all done that at least once with a dry erase marker.
I am left-handed, so it is the bane of my existence sometimes. I'm like, I once wanted to learn calligraphy, but I'm like, oh no. No. That's going to be a little too awkward and very uncomfortable to do it without dragging my hand across the letters. So that's a good one.
For those GMs that want to make your own, you can totally go to Home Depot and buy a 4x8 sheet in the bathroom section that's used for putting up quick and dirty bathroom walls, and totally cut that in half to have a 2-foot by 4-foot sheet that you can then, of course, leave as dry erase marker, or cut grids into it using a drywall tee. I've done that one before. Only problem with that one is when you do that, the score marks will pick up the dry erase marker and never let it go. Because when you score it then becomes porous cardboard in those cuts.
Well, then I'm just going to put it out there. One thing that would be cool, because we have a friend who has one, a laser cutter. If you get some acrylic and you carve in a grid, just flip it over where it's soft on the other one. It's like completely smooth on the other side, but now it's got a built-in grid.
Yeah, that's a huge cool idea, is using the acrylic tiles, so that way you can use any map and just flap the clear acrylic over it, and you immediately have grids to make your life easier.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, because that way you can then make sure to use your dry erase markers and not have problems. Mm-hmm. And you can totally print maps in poster format, tape them together, and then not have to worry about drawing directly on them. Because I've done that one too.
Yeah, that's true. And you can preserve whatever map or that you draw underneath it and just draw on the acrylic top. And I'm going to go, one of my favorite, of course, accessories that would go perfectly with this grid, miniatures. Not required, but they're so much fun.
So yes,
especially finding that perfect one.
Oh, when you can find that perfect one, or if you have somebody that has a 3D printer that can 3D print something cool from Hero Forge.
I do like Hero Forge, but also Thingiverse, or just, they have some really cool stuff.
Yep, and miniatures. I mean, there are so many companies out there that you can find miniatures that work. As well as you can always go old school and do like the little green army men, just in a pinch.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There is something to be said about your game table when you've got a combat going on and 3D representations on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Change the tactical experience a lot.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing that, like, when I have a folder that I keep my characters in and they have a specific area effect, I will take pipe cleaners and you can get the acrylic ones where you can lay over a map are so pretty and so cool. For the like cone effects or area effects and stuff, so you can see a visual reference on the map. And that's cool because it's like, well, if I cast it this way, I'll get my teammate. I don't want to do that. It's easier to visualize if you have the correlation with the little marker for the.
And it's nice if you do say burning hands and you have that 15-foot cone, you can put it out there. Or if you do campfire and you're creating tiny fires that are going to be semi-permanent, it's nice to whip out that little 2-cent pipe cleaner in the appropriate color and bend it into shape and plop it there.
Mm-hmm.
Which you
I
can
had
totally
some
do fun stuff with.
done in the colors and the pipe cleaners, and just if you keep them in the folder and they don't typically get damaged. You can also just do a paper. The acrylic ones are nice because you can see through it.
Yeah, and also when it comes to miniatures, you can buy the clear acrylic minis that are basically 2-dimensional, but you get the little character ringlet that they sit in so they stand up. There's a couple cool companies that make different acrylic miniatures that are really cool because they fold flat and you can, put it in your 3-ring binder or your clipboard and not worry about squishing it.
Yeah, and sometimes depending, you can get them a little more what you want specifically because, I mean, most of the miniatures, it's gotten better, of course, but especially back in the day, they're all male, or if they're female, they're just like boobs, not like realistic outfits or something. But now with all the different new playable races and stuff, sometimes, I really want to find that half-orc genasi monk with frying pans for the preferred weapon. Yes, that is the character I want to make next.
Well, you see, back in the day, you'd get some green stuff putty, and you'd take your nail clippers and wire cutters and start chopping up the mini you could find, and you'd mix up your green stuff, which is, by the way, a 2-part epoxy clay that miniature gamers used back in the old Warhammer day, and you would scope boobs on your half-orc and flames on their head and 2 flat frying pans instead of swords and glue everything back together, and that's what you would do back in the day.
Yeah, but then you'd have to base coat it and paint it and,
Or find that one artist friend of yours that you could bribe with either a mini of their own or food to paint it for you.
This gives me food for thought.
I mean,
if you have one of these acrylic cut out 2-dimensional ones, the base, you could actually put an LED light into the base and then your character would glow.
You could totally do that. Especially if you went for a thicker acrylic, because I was thinking the like paper thin acrylic like they do the most miniatures, but you could totally get like the 1/4-inch acrylic, cut it thick, and have a glowy base underneath it.
Well, because if you do that, then you can have the character engraved with the laser cutter. Really pretty. Oh, I may have to talk to a certain friend of ours.
Yeah, Glowforge is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was your number 4 there. I'm going to go with number 5 since we're talking about minis so intently. And miniatures lead to tactical battles, and tactical battles require the battle mat with the 1-inch grids or the 1-inch hexes, depending on which way you go. I mean, a lot of folks still prefer the hexes because it gives you more directions you can go instead of diagonal or straight, which, of course, in 5th edition, they kind of took that out. But we old timers remember when if you go diagonal, it's a space and a half every step diagonally you take.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all know zigzagging costs more than going diagonal. But battle mats with and I say this for a reason, wet erase markers. 1, because dry erase markers get into your battle mat and never come out. 2, wet erase markers when you make your battle map will not be wiped by someone's arm scuffing across the table. Mm-hmm. However, will be epically destroyed if Mountain Dew is spilled upon it.
What?
Because it's wet erase.
Yeah, okay.
So if someone spills a drink, they'll just watch the map melt away.
Oh yeah, that's true. It'll float away.
And of course, you've seen me many a morning before game day going outside with my battle map and the garden hose and hosing that bad boy down.
Yep.
Which, for those of you like myself, if you do your battle map and you pause in the middle of combat, use your smartphone to take a picture. I don't know why I say smartphone. Those are the only phones that are around nowadays, right?
No, people still use
Take a picture of your battle map and where things are located so you can recreate it to a T the next game. Mm-hmm. And if you happen to leave your map filled out and you notice that the red and the green colors don't come up, there is a trick to take your wet erase marker and draw back over the lines pretty thickly, and the fresh ink will cut the dry ink off the map, so when you wash it, it comes off. That's an old school battle map trick.
Cool.
And of course, there are more and more companies now making the vinyl battle mats, which is nice. Mm-hmm. So what's your next accessory to die for?
Well, I absolutely love, because I love playing 5e, the inspiration. And I love inspiration tokens. They're just fun because, you can toss them at the player for, hey, you can and you have to actually turn it in. It's kind of, I kind of like that, especially with, some of the ones that I got you, I just really love them. And I've got different varieties. But my favorite are the orange day glow acrylic ones that are engraved. Those are fun.
Oh yeah.
And then I also have ones that are specific to bards, like bardic inspiration. I can hand those to a player. I did, now the company's on hiatus, but I did get those ones for you for your birthday. Mm-hmm. They're basically laser cut acrylic that had been then sanded and painted, and they did an amazing job. And they have the bardic inspiration. What I like about theirs is because you can get them, with the 6-sided die or the 8-sided die or the 10-sided die, depending on the level of your bard, which is awesome. And then you hand that to the player that you're giving it to, and then they know what die to add specifically to your, their role, which is nice. Because I have done, here's a fate die. Let me give you, because it's obviously not one of the ones you roll, but it's the shape. But then if your character gets to level 5, then, they're not going to
blown that number out of the water.
Yeah, it's the whole shape correlation is no longer, valid. But, I like those types of tokens.
Yep, I am definitely a fan of I used to use from back in the day with Fate poker chips because I like that distinct thud when you throw a chip on the table. But yeah, the inspiration ones, especially the bardic inspirations, like the one that's a loot. The token looks like a loot. I love those for bardic inspiration.
Yep, I've got those.
And then you can plop them down and the person knows that they are inspired.
Yeah, that set that I got you, I really like this because those tiles have a real weight to them. Especially because, and with the paint and stuff. And then the other ones that I had gotten you, which were just regular acrylic with some little etching and stuff, they're lighter, but they're still really cool. And with the bardic inspiration ones that I had gotten, I used a crayon to fill in.
So you could read it better.
So that you could read it better. The ones that are sort of the day glow see-through, those usually you don't have a problem with. But an opaque one, using a crayon to fill in the recessed lines, helps pop the color.
Almost like old school D&D dice.
Exactly. You get that box with the dice that are so sharp that they could cut glass practically. And then you take a crayon in a lighter color or dark, because they were usually a standard primary color kind of thing. So if it was a light colored dye, you would use a dark, that type of stuff, just to,
Back in our day, we had to color in the pips on the dice.
We had to fit it in ourselves.
But yeah, that's definitely a token on the table that I love, is the inspiration and bardic inspiration.
Oh yeah.
So that if you're looking to give, of course, we are late for Christmas gift ideas. If you're looking to get something for your GM out there, inspiration tokens are great because, and I learned this while playing Fate years ago, if you don't give your players a physical token, they will forget that they checked the box for inspiration on their character sheet until after the end of the game, when they look at their sheet and go,
they're like, oh, darn.
But if you give them something they can tactically touch and play, almost like a fidget spinner, if you give it to them, they will touch it and remind themselves.
Exactly.
And that's totally a thing I've seen on every age bracket of gamers, is if you give them a thing, they will play with it.
Yeah, and I like also ones for like potions and stuff.
I'm a fan of the healing potions, because then they can just write it down, and the next game session you can parcel them off, because as a GM, you can make sure people are being honest between game sessions. 2, players forget to either write it down or to remember if they used it or not. And if you give them a thing that they have to write down on their character sheet, okay, I have 4 potions, and then they erase that when you give them the 4 tokens, and then they write it down at the end of the game session how many they have left. Because they remember then, oh, I'm about to die, take my potion, because there's nothing worse than forgetting you had a healing potion when you could have shoved it into the mouth of your cleric and brought them back to stable 0 as they died from running out of death saves.
Yep.
So what you got next? That brings us to 7, by the way.
Well, I would have to say dice trays. I do love having a dice tray. I make collapsible ones that you can put into a folder. And then you just snap them together so that you can roll into them. And why I like them is because, like, say you're using a heavy die, a metal die. Man, we know those metal dice. Whew, oof. They got some heft to them.
They go ka-thunk.
They do go ka-thunk. And if you're playing on somebody's table and it's wooden, these suckers, if you and we all know the people who really throw those dice, it could leave a mark. But with a dice tray, it won't leave a mark, which is really nice. Or it will, instead of the dun 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 dun, because you just rolled this massive amount, dice, of a heavy metal. It's like, but if you have it on a dice tray, it's a lot softer. It's muffled. So that's kind of nice too. So it can protect surfaces, especially, if you're gaming at somebody's house. Come on, folks, let's be polite, If you don't have one, try and roll on your papers or your notebook, unless it's slanted, because then that would be the clipboard that I use. If I can have it open, works great because it's got a little tiny lip. on both sides. You can use one side as a dice tray almost. But you do have to can't roll crazy,
Mm-hmm.
But I know people who toss them in the air. That's how they roll them.
Yeah, they roll kind of. They do that slingshot from the hip throw, so it bounces and ricochets.
And even when you're doing it normal, rolling I hate to use the word normally, where you're much more conservative about your toss, I should say. They'll go rolling off the table.
Mm-hmm.
And a dice tray helps with that. So,
yeah.
And you can use lots of different things as dice trays. But I like, ones that are can fold flat.
I've even had some gaming groups where they put books up as barricades to protect it from the floor. Because there's nothing worse than a 10-minute break because a dice hit the floor and disappeared.
Yeah. And I like the dice boxes that can also act as a dice tray.
Oh, the nice little wood ones.
Or actually, I have that one that I got for you that one time. I had it 3D printed by a company.
Mm-hmm.
Etsy. I love Etsy. And all the different tiles of the set that I had got you all fit into it. So it's all a one compact thing. You can put dice in there. You have your tokens, and I'm talking a complete set of tokens, like monster tokens and all that fold flat. So it was nice to just have those all inside the one dice box that looks like a book.
Mm-hmm. And even came with all the druid shapes too.
Well, yeah, I got you the complete set, baby. Yeah, the wild form. Oh my God, I love that. Well, I was also playing a druid at the time, so I was like, woohoo! But it all goes into that one dice tray, and it has a magnetic lid to hold it on. So that's nice. And then I've got it all kind of in one, and it's even though it's plastic, it's got lining so that it muffles it. But the dice tray can act as a dice box as well.
Yeah, and I will throw it out also for the nice thing about the dice tray. If you're playing games like Star Wars and Scion, where you're chunking a handful of dice, it is nice. Like in our Star Wars groups, we learned quickly dice trays are needed because your dice, as soon as you throw them down, go in every direction, and it's nice to have them confined to a 9-inch square, so you can parcel your successes and your failures. So if you're playing World of Darkness dice, same thing with the D10s. You're dropping that handful of dice. And if you don't have the dice etiquette or the dice accuracy to drop it in one spot, this way it's corralled to your space instead of the whole table.
Yeah. And that's why I make 2 different size dice trays, because it's like, oh yeah, the small one's good for D&D, but for the the Star Wars games, you need a bit more space.
You need them big dice pools. So I will definitely agree with dice tray on that one. And anything that makes those big hunky metal dice quieter.
Yes, but they're so cool.
And they make such a resounding ka-thunk. So what is your next one?
Well, I guess we could do dice towers.
Sticking with the dice theme.
Well, I love dice, but dice towers are cool. But it's pretty much just for games that you don't throw a whole bunch of dice at one time, because they tend to have a smaller reservoir, so to speak. But it's nice because you can make them fun.
It's true.
And they're fun, and you put the dice at the top, it rolls down a little tumble, it tumbles down, and it has to hit at least 1 to 2 level, to jostle it. And then it usually has an attached reservoir. of some sort, or,
to corral them wild dice.
because otherwise it might go shooting through depending on how hard or you drop it or something. But it can be fun because some of them are like clear and you can see through it, or they're, got special designs and stuff on it, and I like those.
Like the other weekend, we were talking with Anastasia about that skull 3D printed one where you throw the dice into the eye socket of the skull and they go rolling out the mouth. Mm-hmm. Or my favorite is, I think, the one you were talking about, which is the clear one that's got the dungeon steps. They go down to the bottom so you can watch them go click, clickety, clickety, click, click, click. Yeah. It's all about the goblin rocks.
Of course, I also love my one that fits into my mythic mug.
Yeah, exactly. That one that slips right inside it.
Yeah, it's specifically designed and crafted so that they fit directly inside the mug.
Mm-hmm. And the corral at the bottom actually becomes the lid on the top when you put it in there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's it's fun. And of course I have it done in rainbow metallic because it's fun.
And of course,
I have a gold one to match my cleric set. It's they're all,
And you can always get the laser cut ones that are basically the folded up. Usually it's like a balsa wood or something lightweight that you can put together on spot and then collapse down to pieces so it fits in a 3D binder or a clipboard. And those are nice.
With the typical tab construction.
And lots of artists now are putting their artwork on them too, which is good because that way you can have some cool artwork to look at.
Oh yeah, very cool.
Like last RingCon, we picked up one of the ones with one of the local artists.
Mm-hmm. Very pretty.
And I believe Tully is going to be making some. I'm looking forward to that.
Yay, I've got some suggestions. Mm-hmm. If I get you this really pretty acrylic, would you make me this? I'll print you this.
Of course, she may just talk you into coming and hanging out with her at the shop at the mall while she's printing it.
Oh. Well, it depends. I'm in full-on construction mode for Wow Wow WestCon.
Yep. We have less than 40 plus days.
Oh, don't even say it.
I said it. Yes. I've been forbidden from saying
how about you say this, sweetheart? What's your next favorite accessory?
I will go ahead and say, since we are at number 10, by the way, we're really at like 16 or 17, but I'm calling it number 10. As one of the fun things I like at the table, because we all know 5th edition, there's this whole, is a 1 a crit fail, is a 20 a critical success, because they're depending on the haves or the have-nots and what extra rules you're playing with. Most folks think a 20 is only a crit in combat. It doesn't do anything for the skills, which, as most old school GMs will tell you, 20 should deserve some coolness. Just saying. I am a fan.
I agree.
I am a fan of the crit fail deck. And of course, by extension, the crit success. Because if you want to do more than just double the dice of damage for a cool roll, the crit fail deck, which we kickstarted way, way long ago, have a lot of great, funny moments that can add to combat. Because all of a sudden it can be something, ridiculous that's now happening in the combat.
That's a good idea. And plus, for somebody who, hey, I'm running this quick one shot, with random encounters and stuff. This way they can just pull from the card, just to kind of, not have to feel like they have to write everything out.
Yep, and if you get a chance, the company's name is Nord Games, and they're the ones that came up with the crit fail deck, and they also have, of course, a crit success, deck. That it's kind of based on the weapons. When you flip through the cards, it's got like, here's a slashing attack, here's a ranged attack, here's a spell attack, and when you pull the card up, it gives you multiple options. Like, hey, who turned out the lights as you hit them and they're now blinded by the attack? Or, woof, re-roll the attack against the closest target further from yourself, because you managed to shoot double shots and things. Or, oof, you missed and you're now hitting the wrong target, which we all know most GMs will totally do one of two things on a natural one. You either broke your weapon, threw your weapon across the room, and I'll roll grenade splash damage to see where it lands, or you hit your friend.
Exactly. It's like, as a ranger, oh, look, my bowstring broke. Oh, shot somebody in the back. So it's nice to shake it up a little.
Yep, and it is nice because it gives you options and ideas.
Yeah. Though the tried and true is not bad. Especially, it can be very funny.
This is true.
But it is nice to shake it up a bit.
Mm-hmm. And, the nice thing, too, is you can just, as a GM, if your monster's roll fails, it's nice to be able to pull this deck out and see what happens besides just I miss or I break my weapon. I mean, in Star Wars, you get 3 threat and, the weapon ran out of ammo. That's something pretty common. Or despair and I shot the other guy. But in D&D, you don't really have that flexibility unless your GM's really on the ball. So this way, with using your crit fail, your 5th edition crit fail cards, you flip that out and you're just like, ho, ho, ho. And I did hear that the newest deck that they've made actually includes natural attacks. So if you have claws or bites, it includes those as an option too now, which is cool. And of course, if you buy the stuff new now, they give you, if you buy it say off Nord Games, they give you the deck, a book style PDF of the deck, and then you get the print and play PDF. So you can print your own at home.
Cool.
Which is really cool that they're willing to give you PDFs when you buy the physical one.
Yeah, I like that. That's nice.
Especially with the current day and age, when you're not playing with a physical deck with friends, you can pull the PDF up and, either randomly select something or you can actually give a number value if you want to do, roll dice to see which one comes up.
Cool.
Because an excuse to roll more dice is a good thing.
Yes, dice.
So any last bonus ones you want to throw out there since we got number 10?
Well, you know what? What was nice is if you are gaming in person and sometimes it's a long table and you're at the far end, having one of those back scratchers that has that telescoping arm where you can expand it. I keep one of those in my little what is it? The pencil case, the ones that you can do for the pencil holders. Mm-hmm. And that way, if you're trying to reach or you need to move your character a little, you can use it to push from far away other than going, hey, can you move my character over there? Which is perfectly fine too. But this way you can just kind of move it, push it yourself. And that was a gift from one of our players once. He gave a bunch of us for the anniversary one year. And they actually came in handy. I was like, and you wouldn't think about it. It was just a regular back scratcher you get, but it wasn't like the one shaped like hand that wouldn't work as well. It was just flat.
And it collapsed.
Yeah, but that was the nice thing. That was.
And it makes you feel like a general directing your troops on an army map when you're just pushing them across the map.
Exactly. I thought, it's not the accessory you would think of, but it's like, oh, hey.
And it's funny how you're willing to offer to move someone's character when you have that tool.
Yeah.
That's totally a good bonus one.
Mm-hmm.
Because the power, instead of saying, can you move that 4 steps, you just back scratch. That is a genius one to add as the bonus item, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's our top 10 list. See, you didn't think you could come up with a 10 list, and you did.
Oh no, I knew I could come up with lots of them, but some of them are rather reminiscent of each other or work in conjunction. So it's like, does this count as one? This is answer 1A, B, C, and D.
And of course, as the final one, I'll totally throw it back out. There's dice. Dice.
But see, I have to disagree. That is not an accessory. It is a necessity.
This is true. That's just like the game books we didn't mention. That's totally something you have to have.
See, I don't necessarily think of the book as an accessory, but somebody's got to have one.
Somebody's,
now,
even though Guy
they
gets
have it in, which I kind of like the hard copies, because it's tactile and you can flip through them, that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of old school on that. I prefer it. But hey, a lot of people have just the PDFs. Some people have some of them on their phones. I mean, I use some of the stuff on my phone rather than looking up the spells in the back or in the different spell books. I can do a quick search. Mm-hmm. But like if I'm building a character and stuff, I like to use an actual, hardback book.
Yep. And besides, you have that muscle memory of exactly where things are in the book.
Mm-hmm. Or I have my little tabs of, okay, my cleric stuff is marked in yellow and my bard stuff is marked in purple or pink, and my I'll have blue for another one, and that way I can flip specifically directly to that one section.
Okay, so in closing, is there anything else you'd like to mention?
So there we go, Post-its. The little book tab Post-its, because if you are using a book, those are great because they're specifically designed not to leave residue and hurt the paper. And they don't use inks with, glues with acids and stuff. Mm-hmm. Those are great. And plus you can get some in fun shapes like little kitties. Yes, I have some of those. But I think they're also sometimes called document tabs.
Mm-hmm. I remember when you guys had those little cat ones for a while.
The kitty ones. Yeah, I still use one. My Bard has the kitty.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's fun. That's another accessory that you can use. It's like when I'm sewing. I don't quilt, but the quilters have the best toys. They have all the best accessories. So I use a lot of quilting tools.
Hey, it's all about sharing cool tools that you find to make life easier.
Exactly. Or more entertaining or more fun. Form and function.
There you go. Form and function.
Mm-hmm. Or function. See, fun.
That's why we doodle on our character sheets, right?
Yes.
Because it makes everything better.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, guys. I'd like to say thank you for listening. And Kelly, you want to do the outro since you did the intro?
No, baby. I'm going to leave that to you.
Oh, so thank you guys for listening, and we'll be with you next week. And we have some gaming going on. Wednesday nights, bi-weekly, we're doing the Dungeons and Dread, our Gothic D&D game, which bad things going to happen to them this week because last game they fell asleep in a graveyard. Whoopsie, made a fail on that perception check. And then,
ooh, not good.
Yep, gonna have some fun games going on this weekend as well. Actually gonna have some friends coming in out of town, so we actually will get to social distance safely see them.
Woohoo! I'm looking forward to it. I Ooh.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to D&D Journey of the 5th Edition, a member of the Creative Play and Podcast Network. Please follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/CPPN to never miss a show or stream.
Hello, this is Eric.
And Wendy Strog with Stone Valley Hobby and Games.
We sell board games, card games, role-playing games, and supplies. We have thousands of Magic the Gathering cards available, carry Kickstarter products, and work with veteran-owned small businesses to bring you our own line of products.
We are a small business retailer, but we offer competitive prices, a loyalty system, and free shipping on orders over $100.
As a military veteran myself, I'm a strong supporter of our armed forces, their families, and contractors out there doing the hard job. So any order from an AA, AE, or EP address will be shipped absolutely free.
Remember, StoneValleyGames.com, where we take your leisure seriously.